very, very warm welcome to you all. We like to combine our learning with some fun, so please don't be shy. Get involved with the quiz, ask questions. You never know, you might have some tips and tricks that everyone else can benefit from. So make use of the chat function, because that's where the action happens. A special hello to Richard, to Ray, to Mar, Sophie, Simon, everyone else that I met for the first time at Accountex in Manchester. It's brilliant to meet you, and I hope you have come and you can enjoy the show today. I'm joined today by Dean Shepherd. Dean is our head of customer engagement. He's an all-round expert in all things TaxCalc. And before joining us, he used TaxCalc in his own practice as well. I'm also joined by Martin Davey. Martin is the product director for our practice management tools, and he's therefore able to answer literally any question you throw at him on the topic. He loves me saying that. So today we are focusing on the practice management tools. We will be looking at customizing your client list using checklist style job templates, automated email generation, getting documents approved. But if you have any other areas that you have a pressing question on, or a suggestion, a nifty trick that you've discovered yourself, please post those in the chat. We'll be pulling some of those out. And just to be clear, the chat is where it goes on. It's for everyone. It does tend to get very busy. So if you have something that you really want us to see, use the questions box, but only we can see those questions. So it's, if you want us to see that, that's where you want to post it. So without further ado, there will be a quiz. And we have prizes. Yes, we have caps, pink or black. So that's well worth getting involved. And the first section we're going to be looking at is customizing client lists. So I have a question about lists. It's an awkward segue. Okay. But it's a question. So answers in the chat, please. First correct answer wins a cap. If you listed all of the US states in alphabetical order, which one would come last? Hit it. Get in the chat. This is where it all goes wrong, because it becomes unmanageable. And Bethany Jones, straight up.
That must be the fastest correct response we've had in any of our Power Hour quizzes.
I'm wondering if she was given the questions ahead of time and she's done some research. We might have.
Impossible.
Yeah, it could have happened. Well done, well done. So Bethany Jones. Pink or black, let us know in the chat, and we will make sure that you get your, you watch Pointless. Is that where you get it from? Unbelievable. So there will be more quiz questions coming up a little bit later. But I won't keep you from the joy of list customization. So is it you're handling this one?
Yes, I can do a bit of a demonstration of list customization. I'm not sure how we got from Wyoming to lists, but if I share my screen, I can show you some of the things that I do within TaxCalc to help out list-wise. So for Launch Practice Manager, this should be very familiar to everybody on the call, the kind of opening screen that has a list of all my clients. Now, Martin and I have had many discussions about whether I should have been using Practice Manager to its full extent in TaxCalc, as opposed to the myriad of Excel spreadsheets that I used in my practice in order to monitor all my clients, deadlines, when work's due, who the job sat with, all that kind of good stuff. And if I'd perhaps been more aware of how we can use these lists and customize them, then maybe I would have finally ditched those spreadsheets and started to use this. So if people could just throw into the chat the word Excel, if you monitor all your jobs, deadlines, who's doing what on an Excel spreadsheet, and then I'll get a good idea of who did exactly what I did in practice and ran the whole thing.
Oh yes, Excel. Oh yes, you've just basically unleashed a wall of Excel.
Has it lit up the chat? Yeah. Fabulous.
Lots of Excel users to manage their work.
Oh, love it. Okay, here's how you can transform your Excel spreadsheets into Practice Manager. So on screen, this is just the default view. This is what we've got: client code, client name, and what type of client they are. I did use this filter over on the left here, where we can select whether we want to just show individuals, companies, trusts, partnerships, whatever they may be. And actually very popular is our little tax return filters down at the bottom of the screen here, which will filter that list up above depending on the tax return status. So if I want to see a list of all my clients for whom I've created a 24 tax return, then this list up here has now been updated for those. If I just want to see how many tax returns I've filed, I can click and that list is filtered down to the 2 tax returns that I've already done this tax year. Well done me, coming towards the end of September. And if I want to see the ones that are outstanding, there we go, I can click on those too. So those filters, super popular, lots of people use those. For me, it still lacks a bit of information on screen that I would like to see. Like, I can't see at the moment the status of those tax returns. I don't know whether we've requested the information, whether we've started them, whether they're in progress. But if you just give a little right click on the header bar there, then this is basically a list of all the different columns that you could add to this screen if you want to. So if I'm staying kind of tax focused, I definitely want to put up the tax status. So immediately there I can see which of these tax returns have been started or not. Some have been sent to the client, some have been approved, some are in progress. So that gives me a lot more information, and I definitely would have had a status column in my Excel spreadsheet. I might also want to know perhaps when the tax return was last saved, particularly if I want to filter down to any of these items here. So I could just click the top and put those in order so I can see all my jobs that are kind of together in status. So I've got all these jobs here that are in progress. Now they might be in progress, but it doesn't look like they've been touched since March. So obviously I need to do a bit of chasing up on whoever's responsible for these particular clients. But again, I can't see that from here. I can't see currently who's responsible for these clients. But if I right click again, now what I've done within custom fields is create different user roles. So I've got things like tax manager, VAT manager, onboarding manager, accounts manager. So if I just add in a tax manager column there, now I can see, as well as the status, when the tax return was last worked on, I can now see who of my team is responsible for this client. So I can do a bit of chasing to find out why all these jobs are in progress but not really moving. Now, in my Excel spreadsheet, I had a separate tab on that spreadsheet for each of the services that I provided. So I had one tab that monitored all my personal tax returns. I had one tab that monitored all my companies, both for filing those accounts at Companies House and doing the corporation tax return. And then I had a separate tab for VAT, separate tab for payroll, lots of different tabs. So we can replicate that here, if we want to, by saving this view that we've created on screen. If I go to select column view, I could save the current columns as I've done here, give it a name, and then that will appear in this list. Or I could use some of these views that we've already got set up in the system. So let's say I want to go to latest accounts view. I won't save this one I've just done. But this time, I haven't got a lot of accounts there because I've got it filtered to individuals, but let's switch it up to companies. Now I'm looking at the accounts status. So these different views still apply to whatever filtering I do. So I can still filter by the client type, and this time I've gone for limited companies rather than individuals. But by default, I've set this up. So we've got the account status, the accounts period, the accounts deadline. And you can create as many of these different views as you like, showing as much information as you would like to see or wouldn't like to see. And then it's very easy to switch between the different views to get the information that you want. So yeah, that's a very good way to customize the client lists that you've got. And actually, something you can do that's quite interesting from here as well is bulk update information. So let's say, let me add in, if I go back to, let's pick the self-assessment view, and for individuals, And I'm going to bring back in my tax managers. Okay. So this time I am going to sort this view by tax manager, so I can see all Darren's clients grouped together, all Matt's clients grouped together, and all Sophie's clients grouped together. Now let's say that Matt is unfortunately, no, let's say he's no longer in our employ. Let's say he's no longer going to be responsible for individual tax return clients. What I can do from here is highlight all those clients that Matt is responsible for, then go into bulk update, and I can go to tax manager, and rather than have them all belong to Matt, I can reassign those to Sophie. And then we can see that list is dynamically updated here. And you can do that with a large number of fields. Any custom fields that you create, you can update those in bulk from this client list, which is actually a very quick and easy way to keep a lot of that information up to date.
Thank you, Dane. There's so much in this, and it keeps growing every time. And that's down to you, Mike. So well done. Thank you. Couple of questions. Could you show Pauline how to add a column? I think she says add a column again.
Yes, I can. So if you want to add a different column type across the top here, just hold the cursor anywhere on that top line, right click, and then what will open up is all the available different columns you can choose from. So you can click, tick or untick any of the columns that you do or don't want to see. So we've got some kind of all the important ones, tax and accounts, statuses, deadlines, all that kind of stuff. And then a few more things. Older stuff here that's less likely to be used, older tax returns. Non-tax calc work, so we don't just include the ability to show due dates and deadlines and period ends and that kind of stuff for work that you're doing within TaxCalc, so the accounts and the tax returns and the VAT and things. You can also set this up for work you're doing outside, so whether that's bookkeeping, payroll, other things. And then we've got custom fields there. So literally any custom field that you set up in the system, and I think I'll give another example of custom fields a little bit later in the presentation, but any custom fields you set up, you can display that information in a column on the client list.
We've got lots of questions about custom fields, so do you want to hold those off?
I can look at custom fields now, that's not a problem.
Okay, one quick question though before you do that. So question here from Adele. I have different column views set up, but it always goes back to another one rather than the one it was when I last shut it down. How can I set the default column views?
That is a very good
Adele,
question that
excellent.
I feel...
This might be a come back to you question.
I thought it did save the last one you looked at, did it?
It defaults back to the original. Yeah.
Okay, so it always comes back to the
so we
default.
have a request.
Okay.
To do that.
So that's coming, is it?
We have a request for that.
We have a request.
Thanks for pointing out there. So you'll always see the view like this as you come in, and then you'll have to choose which column view you have. But actually, that's a very good point. The ability to retain the last one looked at. That's that's certainly something we can take back to the team and have a look at.
Okay, so Pauline says, I love custom fields. That's strong emotion for custom fields. So we want to add, how do we add custom fields? How do I add a column for portfolio? And how do you amend custom fields?
Okay, let's take a look at custom fields. So if I go into the admin center, which you will need the appropriate permissions to see that on your screen in your installed TaxCalc if you can't see it. I go into Applications, Practice Manager, and Customize Practice Management. So then about halfway down, we've got an item here called Custom Fields. And this is where you can create absolutely any type of field to enter into your TaxCalc database and record it against a client. So we've got various different custom fields that have been created. And these different sections here that you can see, personal partnership, company trust information screen, tax information page, contact information page, this is where they'll appear in the client record. So I'll show you a little bit later where you'll see those on the client record for an individual client. And you can choose where you want these to appear in that screen. So if I just quickly create a little field to show you. So this is where you choose which screen you want it to appear on. As you can see down here, I've got quite a lot in the engagement page section. That's where I tend to put these custom fields, but you can choose any section of client record. Let's go with that one. You can choose which types of clients that custom fields are appropriate for, so you don't need to make it available to every single client in your database if it's not relevant to them. But the ones I tend to use are potentially relevant for every client, so I create those. You can give the field a name, so what might be a useful custom
Favourite
field?
Christmas present.
Okay. Favourite Christmas present that Andy wants to have in the database.
It's as good as any.
It's not that good. Let's go with favourite football team. I'm amazed somebody hasn't put this into our demo database already. Favourite football team. Now the field type, you can have different types of fields. So I think for football team, we just have text, and then that's freeform text. You can enter whatever you like for that particular client if you want to record their favourite football team. I would probably caution slightly against doing that, because one practice I worked at, we had a field for favourite football team. It was the only custom field that we had, and then every single person, every single time they spoke to a client, if there was a favourite football team in there, the first thing they said is, "Oh yeah, how did so-and-so get on at the weekend?" And they got a bit sick of every single week being asked how their team got on, particularly if it was a team like the one Martin supports that don't do so well every week. So text, that's freeform. Number, obviously number, you can type in numbers, dates. Tick box, that's just a straight yes or no. I've actually used that for another custom field down here, fee protection marketing consent. That's a yes or no, whether that client consents to being marketed to for fee protection service. Monetary value, I've included that for some kind of fees-based items. Drop down is quite a useful one, because you can have predetermined text. So this is particularly useful where there are a number of predetermined answers. I could enter every single football team in here if I was really so inclined. And these are particularly useful where the wording is important and you don't want people creating similarly worded answers if they're given freeform text. You know, you don't want people misspelling 0 as their bookkeeping solution with a Z or whatever it might be, so you end up with multiple fields that are actually meant to be the same one. So actually the bookkeeping one's probably quite a good one. I could have 0, QuickBooks free agent, Sage, whatever you want to put in down here as an option. So that's the drop down. And then we have a special user type of custom field, and this is, if you noticed earlier, I brought up the tax manager. This is a special type of custom field where you can create different types of role within your practice. And when you do that, you need to select the members of your team that are going to be applicable to that role. So I won't create one now, but essentially that is how I created these accounts manager, tax manager, VAT manager roles. So for this one, the favourite football team, we'll just leave that as freeform text and save that one. Appears on the list here, and then if I close out of Admin Center, go back into Practice Manager, let's just open up the client record of the first client in the list, and then I think engagement section was where I had most of these custom fields. So section at the bottom, custom fields, and here are all the different custom fields that we had in the system. So I can go in there and type in everybody's favourite football team.
Custom fields in a nutshell. So I have some more questions for you.
Okay.
And I know people are itching to get onto the quiz, but we're going to go on to a couple of questions, both from Leslie Ann. Sorry. So when you add the fields into the client list, it only appears on your screen, and team members have their own view. Is that right?
As you've got public and private lists. I don't know if you want to go into.
Okay. So if if we go back to the client lists, and then we've got the select column view here. If we go into manage column views, just make this a bit larger, then we can see we've got the different views that are listed down here, and then it will say whether it's public or private. So all these views, and these are the ones that ship by default with the software, they're all public, so every user when they log in will be able to see those. If I want to create my own views, and I could either create it on screen, which is probably a bit easier, or I can create it from within here and add whichever columns I like to it. If I then choose to name this one, let's call this one VAT, I can now choose whether I want that to be public so that every user can see it, or whether I want it to be private, in which case only I will be able to see
You may
that.
be on the cusp of answering Leslie Ann's second question,
Okay.
which is from the client screen, are you able to see what VAT returns are due from the client list?
Yes, you are. So those were the ones I very conveniently just added to this
Guys, almost
custom
planned,
view.
wasn't it?
But I think they are also in, I think we have a default one for VAT as well. So if I come out of here and go to the latest VAT view, I don't have many VAT clients set up in the system, but yeah, you'd see the latest VAT status, the VAT period, and the deadline for that.
There you go. So yes, Leslie Ann, yes, we can. So I'm conscious of time because we only have, because it's, I can't remember how long this session is, the power hour, I think.
Oh, there's no end.
There's no end, it's just indefinite. So we don't have a huge amount of time. There's one quick question. David Woods, and this may be something, is it why after a few days or weeks does the customised dashboard reset or go blank?
I think we need to take that away, probably.
Yeah.
Unless that's...
It could be a cache thing.
Unless that's the same as the previous one, where it reverts to the default when you log out of TaxCalc and come back in, or whether David's experiencing something different that we can take a look at.
We might have to look at that with support, David. So, okay, right. We're eating up our valuable hour. Now, before we move on to the next subject, which is Martin is going to be looking at checklist-style job templates. Quiz question. More caps up for grabs. I know everyone's excited now. I know you can't wait to get back to your TaxCalc so you can mess around with your custom fields. But the question for this one is, when, and I want a year and I want a month, did TaxCalc launch Practice Manager Plus, which was the forerunner of what today we call Workflow? So answers in the chat, please. I want the year and the month. First one wins a cap. Unfortunately, Mark's wrong there. No, this is where it all goes wrong.
This is a good one because it's probably not.
What people
Google might not have this one, so
Google probably won't have this one because we know you cheat
out there. What's an accusation?
I don't think if Googling does count as cheating. It does in my pub, but
yeah, I can't imagine anyone on the first 5 people that got that first question right would have even had a chance to open up their browser, let alone discover Wyoming. Oh, this is lots of early guesses. Oh, 1997. That's a little early.
Okay, no one's got it bang on just yet.
Has anyone got the year right yet?
I am going to let you carry on answering that. We'll come back to this. If you can find it on Google, go for your life. When did Practice Manager Plus launch? The year and the month needs to be correct, and we will try and keep an eye on these, otherwise we'll find you at the end. But Martin.
Yes.
Let's hit it with checklist style work.
Okie dokie. Right, so have we got on?
David Woods.
Okay.
Well done, David. Pink or black, put it in the chat.
Yeah, October 2019.
October 19, sorry. October 19. Well
at
done.
the same time that we released Time and Document Manager.
Yeah, I didn't know we'd actually
all three
released
at the same time.
Time.
We did.
The concept.
Yeah. Okay, yes, checklists. So a lot of previous Power Hours that we've done has focused a lot on workflows. Obviously, we've touched on Practice Manager Plus. We renamed that to Workflow fairly recently just to kind of take into account a lot of the enhancements that we'd done. But prior to that, as part of what was PM Plus, we added in the ability to create a checklist job. So this was really for us to differentiate between a full workflow where you may need to assign different tasks to different people with different due dates and have a lot more control over the individual components of the job, from just a single task where you've just got one item that's been assigned to one person. So a checklist job is where you've got multiple things that need to be done, but actually they still need to go to one person, and most times will have one due date. So it just basically filled the void between complexity and simplicity. So I'm going to jump from TaxCalc, so from the launcher screen, obviously similar to where Dean was a second ago, but I'm going to go right at the top. So again, it's just a shortcut. So no Power Hour, we like little tips. So I'm going to go into our application settings from the help menu. So rather than go through admin, we go from the help menu into applications, and then I can double click to go into Practice Manager from here. I'm then going to go into job templates. And again, in previous Power Hours, I think we've been through obviously the workflows and the templates quite a lot previously. So I'll touch on a couple of little bits, but like I say, we're really going to focus on our checklist jobs. So we do ship defaults, a bit like Dean showed a second ago with some of the views that we have. So we have our defaults here with the lock. What we generally say with our templates, so the one that I'm going to look at in a second, our client onboarding checklist is a default. We would always say with our defaults, that's a starter for 10. Most people will have some form of personalization that they'll need, so you can duplicate those, create your own, and then tailor those as you need to. But I'll jump in just to the default one for now, just to give you a sense of what we've got. And you're basically, for those on the Power Hour that are using Practice Manager Plus, you recognise from the workflows, you have your tasks and your individual assignees. But you'll see on the screen here, we've got a real simple setup of a checklist job where you've just got individual tasks, but they basically all have the same date and they're all assigned to the same person. So I'll show you in a second when we use that within PM itself. But basically, you're then just going to check those off one by one. But the key thing here is they are individual tasks. So it isn't that on our lists and reports and things like that you're seeing one thing. You're actually seeing each of these individual items broken down through the system so that you can manage them and know where you are within that particular job that you're dealing with. So here was like I said, an onboarding example. But for today, I just wanted to follow on really, or segue from where Dean was with his staff member leaving. So a lot of previous Power Hours we've spoken about are templates and how they help with compliance and how they help with your day-to-day work that you're dealing with. But you could use them for internal purposes, so proper practice management purposes as well. So things like staff onboarding or ad hoc activities that might need to go on within the practice. Our standard tasks allow you to do that as well because they're really simple to use. But just at the bottom here, I've created a checklist template for, in this case, particularly staff onboarding. It's just a template for the moment. We can rename these to whatever we want them to be. But let's imagine we've got somebody who's joining who we might need to do a bulk reassign of all of the jobs from somebody who's left. That could be a task within here for the new member of staff. It could be training, it could be HR forms, whatever you want it to be. You're basically building out that list of tasks that need to happen for that staff to be onboarded. And that gets away again from things like a spreadsheet. So Tim was talking before about his client list being in a spreadsheet. You may well have an internal checklist that you've just got on a spreadsheet that you might want to pass over to the new member of staff. You could actually send them into TaxCalc, assign the checklist job to them, and that's where they would then go through and make sure that they're doing all the things that they need to do. So it's really simple to create. We're literally just creating a task and then popping a new task in, and that's it. And then the checklist is there. So our templates at admin level are there for everybody to use who has access to admin, so that's administrators, again, that Dean touched on previously. But if I then pop into Practice Manager, and into work management. So I've got an empty screen here. I've filtered, so I just did this before we started the power hour. So I've got this filtered by staff onboarding as my activity types. You can see that I've not got any jobs, but if I go in and create a job, yes, I'm going to use a template, and I'm going to use my staff onboarding template, which is that. And then not client related. And we've got the basic details coming through from the template here. I might say my staff is starting on Monday, and I want them to have it done by the end of the week. So you just pop your dates in. Generally with these types of things, there'll be custom dates. You're not going to run off of a year end or anything like that. I've got my tasks, and like I said, the member of staff is then coming in and just ticking these off. So I can come in, tick them off and finish. And then I should just make sure that I've got my due dates there. So I've got my job, and I can see I've got the tasks that I've not done, and then the 2 that I have done that I've just ticked off. And again, we can go into the actual job itself, and then if I finished another task, then I can complete that task. So just a much simpler way of being able to complete those individual items when you don't need a full workflow.
Fantastic, thank you. So a couple of questions for you. Bushan, hello. Can we generate a tax return checklist for the current year based on last year's tax return? So you're able to kind of presumably duplicate from the year before, create a new checklist for that year?
You read that again.
Can we generate a tax return checklist for current year based on last year's tax return?
Okay, so I think, is that a client questionnaire?
Yeah,
I think that's more. So we have within the system, within communication centre, so we've got a client questionnaire. So it's not so much what we've been going through there with checklist and workflow side of things. We actually have a questionnaire itself, which is sent to an individual person. You can have jobs and tasks that kind of manage the process of sending that out, but the actual questionnaire itself and the information relating to the 2 years of your tax return, I think what's being asked comes from the client questionnaire.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you've got different options as well. So asked about information that was on last year's tax return. Yes, you can generate a version of the questionnaire that shows what was on last year's tax return as a comparison, and then your client can enter in the figures for this year. Or you could send a completely blank one with a checklist. Do you have any of this type of income, that type of income? How much do you have? So you've got some different options there with the client questionnaire.
Okay, fabulous. Pradeep, I think your question there, that's probably one for the support team. If you would level that to that, it's probably not something that we're going to be able to take on right here. This keeps leaping around. So, Leslie Ann, once tax returns are submitted, it shows up on our Client Practice Manager under Business as a new business each time we complete a tax return. Is there something we're doing wrong? That doesn't sound right to me. I think that's a
support.
Yeah, again,
Oh.
I would go to support with that. That's probably a very specific thing to do with settings, because that shouldn't be happening, right? So, yes, and we got the question right from Bushan. Could you show him how to do that, with the client questionnaire? We've got a few minutes we could probably handle.
Okay. So if I pop into Communication Centre, where was I? And then, into Practice Manager. That's me jumping around. And then in Communications, then we've got a client tax questionnaire here. So it brings you up into a new simple step process, and then you're just going through the simple step process, choosing your clients, some of the settings that Dean mentioned, and that generates then through into Word. So fairly simple to find. I think if you haven't had a look at it already, probably worth just going through and having a play around with that.
Fab.
Yeah, you can also, if you're physically sending those out to clients, then you can generate that as a single Word document that has one for every single client. So you can just send that to print in one go and post that off to your clients if you're still posting it off. If you're going to send that electronically, then you can have it create a separate file for each one, and then you can choose to send that to your clients in your preferred method of secure sending.
Okay. So Joanne asks, is it possible to mark down the date the client records were received on the self-assessment template so that I can sort which ones need picking up first?
No. So our templates are task-driven rather than receiving information once something's actually happen. So when you've received the records, you can mark the task as complete that you've received them. So at that point, you're saying they've received, but not from the actual receipt of them themselves. So we haven't got a recognition that those have physically come into the system.
Arrived, right.
So I think that's what's been asked.
Is it possible to mark down the date that the client? So it's
the completion of the task.
That,
the completion of the task is you're saying, well, we've received the records. I'll mark that task as complete, and that's kind of when you're saying that that's happened.
So you would have to mark that yourself, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you create cover letters to accompany self-assessment returns for the client? I think we can.
You can. Yep. So through mail merge. So we've got a cover letter for certain things, like the client questionnaire. We've got a cover letter for the client questionnaire. But yeah, in mail merge, in theory, you can create whatever cover letters and other forms of letters that you want.
We'll maybe do mail merge in the next Power Hour, which will be the 23rd of October, by the way.
Okay.
Is there a way to import accounts from free agent, but instead of using the free agent? Yes, that's an accounts question. We can maybe cover that next session.
Yeah, but I can answer it quickly. Yes, you can. I mean, if you've imported from free agent into accounts production for that specific client, and you've customised the map because maybe there weren't all the codes recognised in the default map, then that map will be preserved year on year for that client. So when you come to import again next year, those codes will still be mapped.
So yes, you can. We've got a lot of questions coming in. Can we use the smartphone app? And then we're going to have to move on.
Yes.
Yes. There you go. One word answers.
So I think, if you speak to the support guys, those types of questions generally get dealt with by SmartVault. But yeah, it's just a case of downloading, and they can run through that with you.
Fabulous. Excellent. Okay, so we are moving on. We've got more to do. We've got lots more to cover. And of course, more quiz questions, because we have caps to give away. So we're going to be looking at automation next.
Okay.
So the question is, Henry Ford famously pioneered industrial automation, so much so that he was able to produce a Model T Ford every how many seconds? So what was the interval between Model T Fords rolling off Henry Ford's production line at the peak? Any ideas?
I don't
know. Are you looking at the chat? You know this is going to whiz through quickly.
I have one idea because I saw the answer.
We've got...
You won't be able to zoom up quick enough now,
I can't zoom up quick enough. Oh, I think, no, not quite. I just can't get hold of them. There's too many of you. Right. I can't see one, no. To be honest, Sarah's come quite close, but she's already got all of our stuff. So
we're going to have to make something else up.
No, someone will get it. We've got lots of close ones.
Stephanie?
Has Stephanie got it?
No, it was same answer.
No, I think.
We've got some very close ones.
We've got some very close ones.
Karen.
I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it. I'm going to close this down. It's Karen has won this one. Call it. Stop. I can't even get back up to Karen.
28 was what she said.
Karen got 28, but I can't see Karen's second name to confirm that it is her. Karen Stone. Karen Stone, congratulations. You have won a cap. And if you can just let us know, pink or black, and we'll get in touch to make sure you get hold of that. The answer was 27 seconds. So well done, Henry.
I think it was a smidge over 27.
It was a smidge over. If you
rounded up,
it would be fine. Okay, so Dean, if you want to hit us with automated email generation.
Absolutely. I think we might have lost a few people off the call as they're going off to fact check.
Yes,
exactly.
I think that's what's going on.
The answer to this one. Right. Okay. So let's dive in. Yes, automatic email generation. So we do get lots of questions about the capabilities of our relatively new product, Communications Centre. So I thought I'd go through one particular example that I would have used in my practice that's perhaps a little bit different to ones you may have seen before. So all I've done here is gone into the dashboard of Communications Center, just to give you a little idea of what's in here if you haven't seen it before. You can set up various things in the background. So in this particular demo practice, we've got a number of different offices, and we can have a standard email address per office. So if communications are going out to your clients from an office email rather than individuals, then you can set that up. And of course, you can also set up an individual email address for each member of your team that could be sending out communications, and they're all listed there. One aspect of the automation that I'm not going to cover today, but I'm just going to show you it's here because we do cover this one in Communications Center specific sessions that we do, and that is the automatic record requests. And you can see the variety of different ones that we have here. So for accounts, confirmation statements, corporation tax self-assessment, and VAT. And you can switch these on so that you can automatically generate an email requesting those records from your clients based on an offset of the year end. So you might want to ask for it, depending what it is, like the VAT turnaround time is obviously very short, so you might want to ask that even before the end of the VAT period. You're coming up to the end of the VAT period, we will need your records, get them in ASAP. Accounts, you might have a bit more flexibility, so you might want to give a little bit of time to get all the entries into their accounting system. So maybe you'll offset that 4 weeks, 6 weeks, however much you like, to start asking for those records. So we can automatically generate those. And then we can also, if we choose to, automatically generate reminders to those record requests. So let's say we've done an accounts one, you've sent out all those emails for your August year ends asking for the information. You can set up a time period from that request going out as to how often you want to generate a reminder email that you haven't yet received the records. So you could send that every couple of weeks until your client is so annoyed with you emailing them every couple of weeks that they get you their records. And then as soon as you change the status to records received, then those reminders will stop being generated. Just so you know, we just generate the email. We don't automatically send those out the door, and they will appear in your pending queue for you to physically send out. So don't be too worried that our system's just going to blindly fire hundreds of emails to all your clients.
Well, so we've had two people, both called Kate, who have asked on the mail merge, is there a delay delivery function?
There is an intentional delay delivery in that you have to physically click send on those emails. Nothing will automatically fire out the door.
It seems to be of concern of people called Kate.
I
don't know.
It was a lot of people's concern, which is why we intentionally built it
We'll call
in that
it
way.
the Kate function.
It is something we're always monitoring. I think when people become more comfortable with using the functionality and they're comfortable that they're only generating emails that they want to go out the door, that they will be more comfortable in having automatically send. But for the time being, we're making that a physical intervention by somebody in your team before those go out the door. It also gives you the ability to customize any of those emails on a one-to-one basis as well.
Okay.
And we do generate a notification. So they go into your pending queue, you'll get a notification that tells you they're there. You don't have to remember to go in and obviously check. So notification will pop up and that'll remind you.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because these will just automatically generate. Every time you hit a month end, for example, you're going to probably kick off a load of more for those accounts that have hit that month end. So yeah, notification is a good point. So what I'm actually going to show, I'm going to give an example of an email that I'm going to automatically generate. And actually, for the person that asked about the mail merge question, some of this also works in a very similar fashion in mail merge, even though I'm using an email example here. So I'm just going to go send a message. So this is where I'd enact the starting of wanting to send a message to a group of my clients. So firstly, I'm going to determine who I want this to come from. So I'm going to have this come from the standard practice email address. And then in terms of recipients, I could, if I wanted to, just choose recipients. I've got the same kind of filters that we're used to before, and I could just go down and tick which clients I want to send this particular mailing to. It's not a particularly efficient way of doing things unless you're only sending it to a very small number of clients. Any clients I've got that I haven't got an email address on the client record for them will appear greyed out. So that's also a little reminder to me to go in and get email address for some of these clients. So rather than do that, I am going to choose a mailing list. I could create a new mailing list, but here's one I prepared earlier. So the example I'm going to use is on fee protection insurance. What I'm really interested in is people that have fee protection cover for their clients within their practice. So if in the chat, if you've got a fee protection scheme for your practice, just type the word fee. If you don't have a fee protection scheme in place for your practice, type no fee. I'm always interested to see, because when I had my practice, I put off using a fee protection scheme for quite a while, probably the first 3 or 4 years of the practice, because I kind of felt like it's just me becoming a insurance salesman to my clients for a tiny bit of commission. But actually, once the practice starts to grow and you start dealing with more and more inquiries, and you're actually backed by the cover provided by fee protection, it actually came a complete no-brainer for me to offer this service to my clients, and it was pretty successful, I have to say. But like any service that I offer my clients, I always wanted to have different tiers of that service that they could pick and choose to get the level of service that they wanted. So I've created a gold, platinum and silver service for fee protection. Don't use a bronze service, because if they want a bronze service, they can go to the accountants down the road and get a bronze service off anyone.
By the way, I think the no fees had it, but only
pretty even.
Pretty even.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. If anyone wants a separate chat about the benefits of fee protection scheme and how I implemented it, then by all means.
Or speak to David Woods.
Or speak to David Woods.
David Woods.
By all means, speak to me. I've got no skin in the game. We don't have any preferred providers or anything like that. Okay, so I've got some of my clients are on silver, some are on gold, some are on platinum, some do not take fee protection at all. But what I want to do each year is offer the people that are on the scheme a chance to renew, and if they're not already on the platinum, give them an opportunity to upgrade. So I want to tailor my communications for different types of client depending on where they're at. So this is why I've got these different types of mailing lists. So I'm going to go fee protection silver. And here's all the clients of mine that are currently subscribing to my silver fee protection service. So I'm going to put choose. Now, don't think that because all those names have appeared in this to box that we're sending out some kind of CC email to everyone. That's not the case at all. That's just so you can see who it's going to. Each email would be sent individually, separately to each client. So none of that CC or BCC stuff going on here. Next, template. I could just start typing the subject line of an email. I could just start typing out an email down here, but that wouldn't be very efficient for something that I'm going to be sending each year. So if I go into my templates, we've got lots of templates that ship as standard with the product, and I've also created some down here. So this is the email that's specifically for my silver subscribers for renewal. So I'm going to select that as my template. And then we can see down here in the main body of the email, this is everything. This is the email essentially that's going to go to that client. And there's a whole range of information that we can populate based on information in the client record. So obviously the first name or contact first name for its company, that will populate at the beginning of the email. I've got a custom field to denote which fee protection service they're on. So if they're silver, gold, platinum, that will pre-populate in here. If I wanted to, and I wanted to attach, let's say a PDF with information about the fee protection service and the different types of cover, then I could attach that to this email at this point if I wanted to. What I tended to do with things like that where I'm wanting information for my clients to access and read, I would tend to put that up on my website somewhere so that I could always keep that up to date and I wouldn't have potentially out of date PDFs going off to clients. So URLs can go into any of these emails as well. And then at the bottom, I've set this so that the signature will go both with the first name of the member of my team that's responsible for this client, so the portfolio manager, plus their full name and the office mailbox signature. You can choose how you want to and close off your emails, whatever you prefer in your practice. And then if I want to see what any of those emails might look like with those items filled in, I can go to preview, select which one of those recipients I want to look at, and then it will fill those in. So for this particular client, first name's Colin, they're on the silver package. Jay is the portfolio manager, so all that information has been pre-filled. And there are all kinds of things, we call them tokens, these mail merge fields that you can include in any of your emails, as well as that kind of record request reminder. One of the common examples we use, I know Nick, our head of training here, thinks that if nothing else, you can use Communication Centre every year for your July tax and your January tax payment reminders, because you can pre-populate those emails with the tax due, because we've got that figure in the TaxCalc database. So there's all kinds of things that you can populate emails with. Once we're happy with those...
Oh, sorry, carry on. I was going to ask a question.
Ask a question, go on.
I was going to question, is it possible to include HTML formatting to match the accounting firm's, the standard email?
Oh, that's a good question.
So the emails can be formatted. So you've got colour, you've got font size and formats that you can deal with within TaxCalc. It's not necessarily a case of formatting the HTML. Obviously, we're doing it through the UI. With the signatures, you can copy paste the signature. So if you have a signature that you use for your emails, you can copy that into the system. So to a point, you should be able to get as close as possible to what you generally use for your branding and visual side of email. Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
So yes.
Fabulous. So then we've got two options. We can send now. So if we've checked that we're happy, that all the information is going to all the right clients, we're not wanting to make any further changes, then I can click send now, and then that will physically send that email to each of those clients, and jobs are good. We find it tends to be probably a bit more popular to click the send later button. You can set a pending date for this message to go out, but let's just put today's date. Okay, so now if I go to message activity, this is a list of all my sent messages that have gone through the system, and I can do any kind of searching to narrow down to specific sent emails if I want to find those out. You can also see these on the client record for any individual client, rather than seeing every single email that's gone out from this point. And then if I click on my pending queue, these are all the emails that have been generated but not been sent. So I can individually look at each of these emails if I want to, one by one, to go through and make sure I'm happy with them all. But from here, I can either send each one individually, or I can send the whole page. And just so you know, on the screen at the moment, I've not just got these fee protection emails. I've also got some other pending emails down here, which I haven't yet checked whether I want those to go. So I would just need to use some criteria just to filter down to these particular emails, if these are the ones that I want to send, and then I could bulk send the whole page and all those emails would go off. If I looked at any of these and thought, you know what, I've had a separate conversation with this client, I don't want to send this email to them, then I can go through and just cancel the message and not send it. Again, if I change my mind completely and decide, actually, you know what, I don't want to send any of these, I think we're going to change our wording, change our terms and conditions on it, whatever it might be, then again, I can just cancel in bulk, the whole lot. So it's actually pretty flexible once you generate those emails, whether you want to send them, keep them, cancel them, send them one by one, or send them in bulk.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you, Dean. Enjoying this? Is this what you want? Is this what you came for? I hope so. Couple of questions. Mark, well, you want to know, can we add attachments?
So yes, it's got when scheduling emails, why can we not add attachments?
Yeah.
So simple answer is TaxCalc as it currently stands in its own right is not a document management system. So if you're scheduling something and you have those emails, you're having to store that file then against those emails. So technically that's kind of why we've not got that far as yet. Doesn't mean we won't get there in the future. Obviously document management, we have our integrations with SmartVault, but they're slightly separate in terms of how this process would work. So
fine.
Yeah, so we're all aware of it, but for the moment, the main reason is that we can't hold that file that they would want to attach while we're holding the email content.
Right, sure. Okay, fine. So we have only got a few more minutes left. So with that, well, let's get into what, I mean, frankly, everyone has come for, which
and
is...
You're giving me 3 minutes.
Well, you've got 3 minutes.
Okay.
We may run, you can have a couple of minutes grace.
Okay.
I'm sure everyone, but we're talking about document approval. So you've created everything.
Okay.
Let's get document approval. How do we do that?
Okay, I'll try to
Yeah.
get it done in a few minutes. There is a lot to cover. I wonder whether actually maybe we have a separate session for eSign Centre kind of later on. But let's pop into TaxCalc again. And again from our launcher, so we've got eSign Centre. I can't remember actually last time we covered eSign Centre, but there are videos. I know someone asked about videos before, so we have got videos online for how to use eSign Centre. I'll use Dean's example of his fee protection just as kind of, again, a segue in. We come to a landing page, we can see from here, and again, we've got filters. We can see what we've sent, what we've not sent. You do, again, get notifications from this when you've had an envelope or a document completed, and you get a notification to say that's the case. There's a lot of things in here, again, maybe in a separate session that we could go through in more detail. But just for now, just going to go through a real simple scenario of just creating an envelope. And as I go through, I'll kind of mention a couple of the benefits from here. I'm just going to choose Imperial. So let's, for example, just say that it was, I don't think I've typed that very well, haven't I? But pop into our recipient. So we're creating an envelope. With eSign Centre, the important thing to remember is you buy credits, so you pay by credit, 1 credit per envelope, but within an envelope you can send, in theory, as many documents as you want within that envelope. So you're not having to pay per document. So a lot of the time, again, in this example, I'll be attaching multiple documents. So at that point, you're only taking up 1 credit, even if you want to send them multiple things. In terms of who can sign, so we opened this up, probably, it was within the last year anyway, where you can have any type of relationship that signs any of those documents. So if I go into manage relationships, we can see directors and secretary that you'd imagine, but I could add a shareholder or other relationship types that may be linked to that client. So I can add those in, so select and add those to the envelope, and they can then be chosen to sign. But by default, for limited companies specifically, will only show directors and secretary, but you can add the other types in. We can also add a user. So this is kind of a key thing if you want a member of staff or one of your colleagues to be marked as a watcher. So within an envelope, generally people will sign, but we have an option within our envelopes where someone could be a watcher. So they're not going to interact with the signing of the envelope, but as soon as that those documents have been signed and the envelope's completed, they'll be notified of that and sent a copy of the signed document. Like I say, you could add a colleague or somebody else within the practice who's just able to see what's going on with that envelope itself. So I'm just going to add Darren actually in here because I've just got a default email address of eSign Centre Demo. I can add him as a signer. Like I say, we've got Watcher. I skipped over that, so he's got Watcher within here. I'll go down to my documents. Again, for this time that we've got here, I won't go through all the TaxCalc documents. I'm going to use Dean's example for external documents, but we can add a tax return, set of accounts, VAT return, all the standard ones you'd expect that we generate. But for this, I'm going to highlight that we can actually add any external document as long as it's a PDF. So for the moment, it's limited because of the way that the signing process works. But let's say...
just on that note, sorry, a question has come in. Can you add a watcher that works for the client but is not a director shareholder, i.e. a bookkeeper or an internal?
Yes, in theory you can do. So what we would do with that currently is you would add a relationship type of a representative. So they're not director, they're not secretary, but you've got a type of representative, a personal representative. So you could add somebody else. It could be an auditor maybe or something, but you could add somebody else in as that relationship type, personal representative, which means any other person. And they would then come up, if I jump back onto recipients, so they would then come up on here. So if I went into here, so I could add them as a different relationship type here. I could choose them, and yes, I could then choose them as a watcher.
Okay.
On there.
So yes.
Yep. So just in our documents, how long have I got? Am I still all right for
minute or so? We're now into bonus time.
Okay. It's called Andy time.
Is it Andy time?
Okay. So really quickly. So again, I'll jump back in to where I was in Manage Documents. And if I go to Upload Documents, so what I was saying was we can bring in any external document. It does need to be PDF just because of the way that the signing process works. But I've got here Schedule of Services for Fee Protection. Let's imagine we've re-engaged or taken on that client for fee protection. I would pop into here, I can see the document. I can go down to the end, I can drag in my signatures. So I've got my date and time. And basically, as long as you have anyone who you've chosen to sign on one of those documents, I can then add any other document in, and I don't then need to add them to sign. So for example, I could add in a guide. So I think Dean talked about adding in extra information about that fee protection. And that document could then be sent with the envelope, but I don't actually have to put the signer on that particular document itself. It just needs to be on one of those documents within the envelope. And then we'll go to check and finish. Little green tick tells you that we're happy, and then we'll fast send, and then that would send through. And then just really quickly, I pop into my email, and then within my email, I would have the email as the client that would receive that could then log in and sign that document.
Fabulous. That was in record time. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. Couple of quick questions. Can the email template in the e-sign centre have the number of words increased? And can we change the font and appearance of the template?
We have that as a request. We did increase it. Again, might have been about a year ago, up to 500. The slight issue, or the thing that we just need to be careful of, is how far do you increase? You keep going and going and going, and that starts to give you other problems. So yes, we have got a request potentially to look at how far we could go with that.
Right. Okay. We have gone over time. It's school run. Yeah. We know. We feel your pain. So we're going to have to wrap up this power hour and 3 minutes, which is a first for us. So we thank you very, very much for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed that. If you have enjoyed it, bring a friend next time. Tell all of your networks on all your Facebook groups that you're part of. Bring people along, because the more people, the more thoughts and ideas we get in, the more questions we get, and we can focus even more on what it is that you're after. So we will be at the ICB Summit in November, 11th of November. We'll also be at the Accounting Excellence Awards. We'll be at the 2020 conference as well, coming up, if you want to come and see us. If you've seen anything today that you think, I don't have that and I'd like to have it, you can get in touch with our sales team if you fill in the Get a Quote form on the homepage, or you can put a note into the chat, and we'll get in touch with you to follow up on that. And finally, training. If anyone is interested in doing full training, we do have a team that can come out. So Nick, who you've probably seen, who's been on the Power Hour many times before, does offer live training. You can do 1 to up to 8 people on a web session, and you can buy 1 hour, you can buy 3 hours, you can buy a full week if you like, and he'll take you through whatever it is that you want to cover. So if you want to do a little bit of communication centre and a little bit of accounts production, you can tailor that how you like. So get in touch. Once again, best way to do that is through the sales team. Fill in the Get a Quote form, or just contact sales@taxcalc.com. After all of that, I'm going to thank you both, Martin and Dean. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate you all coming along, and for all of your questions and thoughts. Take care. Bye-bye.